business people or technology people are basically betting their career on this technology solution, because if it works well, they're the hero. If it doesn't work well, it can be damaging to their career.
Russell Rothstein, thank you so much for being on my show. How are you?
Very good, Michael.
I want you to, before we talk about ItCentral and talk about COVID-19 and what it's like to manage a team during this crisis, I want to go back a little bit about your journey from Harvard, MIT Sloan. Talk to me a little bit about your journey into the business world and into entrepreneurship. What was that trigger for you that got you thinking, okay, I want to be a part of this tech ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd say it even starts before college. I'm from the Bronx, born and bred, and I didn't necessarily, going into college, I didn't know that I was going to study computer science. That's what I did my bachelor's in, computer science. I didn't know that at the time going into it. Really only until sophomore year did I really hone in on computer science and found I enjoyed the courses there. And so just followed that, went with that journey, and then worked in a technical capacity. I worked at Oracle as my first job out of college, deploying Oracle databases and Oracle applications. Did a lot of SQL work, but at the time, I really started to think about what my passion was, what my strengths were. I really enjoyed that interaction of solving problems for customers, meaning deploying databases, deploying that application, that point where actually getting something that's valuable to them. I liked interacting with the customers. I didn't want to just be sitting in front of the computer all day. I really enjoyed talking to the people and understanding them, and not just socially, but also professionally, what they're doing, what's this database all about, what's this application all about, and then started to think about from my career. And it led to me to go to more of a business, less technical route. I went to MIT. I started at MIT, or began my MIT journey in a master's program studying technology and policy, studying telecommunications policy. And then I decided to take an additional year at MIT, a third year, and got an MBA from Sloan. So I did master's in MBA, and really so since then I moved into the business marketing side of technology after I graduated business school.
Very, very cool. Okay, so now we're talking about ItCentral. So you're in Modena and you're running this very cool startup. Talk to me a little bit about B2B reviews and understanding software. What is ItCentral and what problem are you trying to solve? Because I think it's a problem that especially young entrepreneurs, we don't really get exposed yet to this area. We're much more, I think, we get exposed much more to B2C. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Exactly. So it really began, like you said, it began with my expertise and knowledge of the B2B space and even within B2B, the enterprise technology space. So I'd worked in my career in enterprise technology, enterprise software companies. I mentioned Oracle. I worked at companies that develop software to manage performance of applications, manage networks, the kind of software solutions that larger businesses would use, at banks, insurance companies, large retailers. And so that's the world that I began to really know well. And so on one hand, I was developing this knowledge and really intellectual curiosity and love of the enterprise tech space. But in addition, I was always really intrigued by social media and a lot of the new trends going on in B2C. I was a very early user of Twitter, going back long-term history. I mean, I created my own website again, very in the late '90s.
Wow.
And so I've always been interested in the conversion of the two. And so the story behind ItCentral Station really began in 2011, and I was having dinner with a friend of mine, Naftali Marcus, and he's now the co-founder of the company, but at the time we were just talking about ideas.
Right.
And
Did you know when you're talking about ideas, so you had an intention to start a company together and you were rolling off ideas off of each other, or how did that work?
Yeah, listen, there's different types of entrepreneurs out there. There's those entrepreneurs that, every day you talk to them, you meet with them, and like every hour they're coming out with really interesting ideas. They're always, they're just overflowing with ideas for companies, for startups. I'm not that kind of person. Okay, my sort of ideas for a startup come once every 10 years. Okay, so but I had this idea again about in 2011, and I invited Naftali, who I had a lot of respect for. I have a lot of respect for, and had some ideas to get him involved. And so I explained to him that, so we were having dinner. It was in Manhattan. We're having some hummus and kebabs. Of course, exactly. Again, this was a time where there weren't such things as B2B review sites, and so
again, before we go into the actual problem, what is the problem space that you're trying to solve? So there aren't B2B review sites. What does that even mean? As a young consumer, I don't even know why we need a B2B review site.
Exactly. So and that's what I explained to Naftali over this dinner. I said, here I was, and I just traveled to New York. I stayed at a hotel, and I'd used reviews from TripAdvisor to help me make a decision about which hotel I would stay at. It's really important. I mean, I think it's sort of obvious that before you make any important purchase today, you want to go online and read reviews, whether those are Amazon reviews, Yelp reviews, what have you. But am I in the business world, right? Where I was working with enterprise technology professionals. So these people, these IT managers, CIOs, enterprise technology folks, their responsibility was to choose software or choose technology for their business. A new cybersecurity solution to help their business stay more secure. Some type of new software to help them build applications better, faster. A new type of application to manage their business. And they did not have access to reviews. They did not have access to easy way to tap into the knowledge of other people who had already checked the market, who had already researched solutions, already used some of those solutions.
But Russell, what my intuition is guiding me is saying, when I look to buy headphones, there may be 500 different types of headphones at all sorts of price variations, and it's a really congested market. When I think of a cyber security solution for my company, maybe there's like 3-4 good solutions, not 500. Maybe I'm wrong, but my intuition just says that maybe because there's less reviews, it's a little easier, or less products, it's a little easier, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it depends. Enterprise tech is a huge market. It's $3 trillion. $3 trillion is spent every year on enterprise technology solutions. So there are some markets where there are, take IT service management and many cybersecurity. There are dozens of solutions out there. It's very confusing and different than headphones. Very different than headphones, because headphones, it's sort of the same use case, right? You're using it to listen to your music, and maybe they've got some different features. These different types of enterprise technology solutions are more complex, and so oftentimes it's comparing apples with oranges, or one type of apple with a different type of apple. And so it's a very complex so even if there are just a handful, and oftentimes there are dozens, but even if there are just a handful, it can be a very complicated buying process. And so it's really helpful to talk to people who have already gone through that and gone through the market. So again, going back to that dinner, I said it, how could it be that I had all access to all these reviews when I was just choosing a hotel, which, not the most crucial decision in the world for me, but business people or technology people are basically betting their career on this technology solution, because if it works well, they're the hero. If it doesn't work well, it can be damaging to their career. And obviously it can save the company millions of dollars to make the right technology purchase for your business, where you can lose lots of money if it's the wrong purchase. So important, so strategic, and so that's how we got to starting ItCentral Station. It's the leading review site, real authentic reviews written by enterprise technology professionals. So it's not B2C, and even within B2B, it's not targeted for the small, medium business market. It's targeted to enterprise technology buyers with their unique needs.
How do you get people to write the reviews? So how do you get the CIO or the VP R&D to come in and then say, yes, I've purchased this cybersecurity software. We've been using it for 3 months and we're happy or unhappy, and here's why.
Yeah. So it's really important, because it's not a question of just, you don't want just to have a really short review, right? I mean, that's not, that can be helpful. That might be good for me when I'm choosing a hotel. I just want to know, a lot of people say that the sheets.
You want to know how many stars out of 5. You don't necessarily care about the little details.
Exactly. Right. So for enterprise technology buyers, it's much more important to have that in-depth content, because someone evaluating technology, enterprise technology for their business, they have a whole lot of questions that they want to ask. They want to know.
Right.
Again, it's what is the use case that they're using it for? How is the implementation? What's the business case? What's the return on investment? Where's there room for improvement? What other pieces of advice? What's the best licensing strategy to work with this vendor?
Right.
There's a lot of information there. So our strategy has been not only to get reviews, but focus on the quality of the reviews. So it's not a numbers game. It's not getting millions and millions of reviews. It's getting about reviews that are genuinely valuable to help people make buying decisions in their enterprise technology purchase. And so the kind of incentives that we put in place is very different than the kind of incentives that you might see in B2C review sites. So B2C review sites, there's a lot of, first of all, there's sometimes issues with fake reviews. There are people giving out gift cards.
Yeah.
And all those things to incentivize people, and it sometimes creates bad actors. We've decided to do zero financial incentives. We don't pay people to write reviews, and that's really important. Really, really important not to pay people to provide reviews. And really, it's observing.
Wow.
If you're familiar with the Maslow hierarchy,
of course,
right? So of needs. So the bottom, towards the bottom, are more those sort of physical needs, and so to motivate people by giving them either financial incentives, write a review, we'll give you a $10 gift card or a $5 Starbucks card. That's at the low part of the Maslow hierarchy.
Right.
The upper part of the Maslow hierarchy is self-actualization. That's the top of the Maslow hierarchy, and so those are the levers that we pull. Right? So we provide ways for our reviewers to see how providing a review helps the community. Right? The altruism is a very strong force for many people. 2 is it's a way for you to be seen as a thought leader, especially in today's market. If you're a technology person, how do you promote yourself? How do you get your promotion? How do you get your next job? It's by showing that you're knowledgeable about a particular solution, right? If you're really an expert at this, Salesforce implementation, at the cybersecurity deployment, whatever it is, then you're going to be more valuable out there in the market. And so we're able to use these levers to get people to provide more in-depth reviews. How we find these people? So there's really two ways that we find people who are providing reviews. One is members of our community. We have 400,000 registered members in ItCentral Station.
Wow.
And so they're actively providing reviews. We do solicit reviews from them. They're answering questions. Because we've focused on that community aspect of it, they stay engaged with the platform.
Wow.
So one is our process to continue to solicit reviews from our community. And the second aspect is there are lots of technology companies that simply want more reviews of their products. And that's part of our business model. We're fully transparent about it. It's called Reviews as a Service. And so the way that'll work is that if a company wants more reviews of its products, it will run a Reviews as a Service subscription program with ItCentral Station. They will provide us with lists of their customers, and then we, as an independent third party,
very cool,
completely neutral, collect those reviews from them.
And it's a win-win because you both get the reviews and you get...
Exactly. Exactly. The technology vendor does not have any veto rights. They don't get to edit the review. So it's very possible, and it happens. It happens. Sometimes those reviewers are actually critical of the products that they're using. But that's part of the game, because if they're all 5-star reviews, it's not credible at all, right? You all know that, right? You go to a page on Amazon. It happens all the time, right? And I see all these reviews, and they're all positive. And it's like, okay, something's going on here.
And then you see a couple of the 1-stars and they're in length, and then you feel something is fishy.
Yeah, exactly. But if I see a lot of, like, say, 4-star reviews, where someone says this was really good, but it didn't work for me in that, that's the most credible review.
Right.
And so that's where we aim for, is to get those credible reviews that provide both, you know, this is what's great about it, but also here's the room for improvement.
I love it. I think I remember somebody back in middle school or high school, they told me that it's always much better to get a 97 on a test than 100, because 100 means that the test was easy. You just aced it. If it's a 97, it means you worked really, really hard, and it was a really hard test, and you still got a good score. So I think it's exactly the same thing. You want to get those 4s and those 5s. You don't want to just get all 5s, because that diminishes the value of those reviews. Russell, but I want to transition also to a little bit about work from home, because we're almost out of time, but I want to hear a little bit about your leadership style, and COVID is unfolding. You're still running the team. What do you do? How do you, as a leader, come and approach this crisis?
Yeah. So there have been a few guiding principles. I think the first is compassion. COVID has affected many people in the world, from a health perspective, from an employment perspective, and we're fortunate here in the company. We've grown since COVID. We did not have any layoffs. We did not have any pay cuts. We've grown. We're hiring. We're continuing to hire, but still, it starts with compassion. Again, we're fortunate. None of our employees have had any serious, to my knowledge, health issues as a result. But it's always knowing that whether people might have a family member, a friend, what have you, who's affected by it, and so it all starts with compassion in them, and to articulate that. So that's number one. Number two is communication. So I really had to ramp up my communication with the team after because we shifted from being in the office to working from home. We're now back in the office, many of us, but for a period of time, obviously we were all working remotely from home, and so there it's really about over communicating. So I would do some things that I hadn't done previously. I was sending WhatsApp messages to the entire team. We were doing some special types of videos to keep the team entertained, and obviously I would have more frequent meetings with my cabinet, my management team, with the entire team. So we just increased communication flow. That was also really important. Not to underestimate, again, the challenges of working from home. Right. On one hand, for some people some people really like it, but it can be very tiring. It can be very tiring to work from home, and we really just want to be there and support the staff, support the employees. So
Wonderful.
those are the sort of things that we did, and we did some fun things, had some fun along the way as well. A couple of staff had to go into quarantine, so we had a rule that anyone goes into quarantine gets a pizza sent to their home to feed their family for the night. So we sent out a bunch of pizzas, and then people would then take pictures of the pizzas and share it with their team. So sort of became this fun company activity. So to come up with those kind of creative things that we did.
Russell, that is so cool. Thank you again for being so generous with your time. This was so interesting, and I learned a lot over these past 20 minutes. Before we leave, I'd love to ask you for 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Yeah, I'd say always be learning. That is something that I've always had a thirst for learning. It's one of the values of our culture credo here in the company, always be learning. We're all here in the company. There's a mandate to always be learning. The funny thing is when you get to be my age, what you do is you learn that the more you learn, the more you don't know. So I'm in this now cycle where the more I keep learning, the more I realize I don't know so much, and there's so much to learn. So it can be sometimes quite a challenge, but that's something that I think is really a driver for who I am.
Very cool. Russell, toda rabba. Thank you very much. Best of luck with both with the COVID, but also with ItCentral Station. It sounds really incredible what you guys are doing, and I love the different intrinsic motivations and the thought processes behind how to get this to create actual value and not just artificial value on the surface of it. And it sounds like this idea behind growing a community that actually cares and actually wants to help and wants to be shown and seen while creating value for them too is an incredible accomplishment. So Russell, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. It was fun.